Another week, another season, another presentation of Friday Night Primetime on Race Spot TV. Welcome to the Autodromo Nacional Monza. Hello, one and all, and welcome once again to the show. My name is Nolan Rempel. Beside me in the commentary box is Ryan Walker with Connery Maddock behind the cameras for round number 1 of the iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship. And what better way to start the season off, Ryan, than what is, in my opinion, one of the most thrilling racetracks, and not just the sim, but in the entire world.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Nolan. And I'm looking forward to this season of Friday Night Primetime and covering the IMSA series. And also, we've got 2 new cars to the service for this series with the Dallara P2 and the Corvette C8R. So it should be a fantastic series to watch, and rather looking forward to it.
Yes, indeed. Of course, 2 new cars is going to be the very big story today. Of course, a brand new car, the Dallara P217, taking over the Daytona prototype class. So the former Chevrolet Corvette C7 DP, well, so long to that car for the DPI category. It is now the LMP2 category, with the Dallara taking a reign today. And of course, do not forget that brand new Corvette, of course, it's been taking center stage along with the BMW. 2 cars that no doubt we're going to be able to see today what the contrast on the 2 is going to be big time right now. Qualifying, of course, underway, and right now I can see some of those LMP2 cars, they're putting some minute and a half times on the board, so it looks like we're in for some quick laps today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been hearing good things about this Dallara as well. And people saying it's a really great car to drive. It's easy to drive, and it's not a car that you're having to fight like you would have to do with the Daytona prototype. But this P2 car, it seems to be getting great reviews, and at the moment, really quick lap times in qualifying.
Presently for that LM2 class on the pole position for now is Dejawad Karoni, and apologies if I completely butcher the pronunciation of that name. You got Daniel Pastor right now on pole position for the GTLM class, and then down in the GTD class, it is check that new driver to the top of the boards, Renz de Kock in the number 20 machine, putting himself at the tops of the boards in his Mercedes-AMG GT3 with a 148.085. So a good run there for the number 20 car. Still has one more lap to do, though. So I wonder if he'll be able to maybe even top that time, or will somebody else kick him from that top spot?
It's more than possible. I mean, looking at the names in the GTD class, you've got Renz de Kock, you've got Rune Janssens, and also you've got a certain Ken Halliburton in that class, so he could be one to look out for, and he could possibly take that pole position as we're just about in the closing stages of qualifying.
Are some big names in today's field. Of course, Fraser Williamson, you got Casey Kerwin in here as well. Should mention Johan Harth is also in today's field as well. Johan Harth, of course, running in the Porsche Esports Super Cup, as well as the Thrustmaster iRacing Rallycross World Championship. So, like we said, few very, very big names in today's field today. So no doubt we should be in for a very, very good treat today for the opening round of IMSA.
Yeah, absolutely. As a ride on board of Johan Harf at the moment, and Johan Harf we recognise from the various series, Pro Series as well, and this evening he's having a go in the IMSA Championship with this Dallara P2. And Johan rather, is anything he jumps into, he always seems to be on the pace with, so keep an eye on him in the race.
Right now, Johan Harth just coming to the conclusion of that second lap, and he is going to keep it right by the pit wall to get that extra couple hundredths, and that is going to put him second place on the boards, right behind Karoni. So 135.058 to Karoni's 135.046. Just about 12 thousandths of a second separating your top 2 drivers in the LMP2 category today.
Yep, I think this is going to be the nature of the IMSA Championship this season with this new car, and just this season in general. There's always been big names that jumped into the series from time to time, and it's always been close racing. And I think not just the likes of the real quick drivers, but just the drivers in general, it's going to be a tough one to call in all 3 classes, and it should be really close in the championship for each class.
It's a very split field. I mean, usually we see the preference tend to goes more to the GTLM and the GTD categories here in the IMSA Championship, but today the LMP2 class really has come in strong. Still not as big, granted, as those bottom two classes, but still decently big nonetheless. I think I'm counting about 10 cars in that top class right now. As you can see, all 10 right now have set times on the left side of your screen there as we watch Saturnino throwing his way across the boards in his BMW M8 GTE in that GTLM category. That is going to put himself up to 7th place in his respective category.
Absolutely. As in the GTLM class as well, it's just looking at the times as well, you've got the top three are real close, and then further back in the pack it's slightly, there's some drives that are slightly not far behind, but the top three at the moment are not that much separated.
And we're going to move right over to the grid now as qualifying has come to a conclusion. So starting on pole position in the LMP2 class is going to be Dejawad Karoni, and right next to him on the front row, Johan Harth. Fraser Williamson picks up 3rd place with Linus Technow in the 4th position. Dominic Farber rounds out the top 5 with Casey Kerwin in 6th place. Jamie Moon 7th. Majdeg Milnik in 8th place. Drew McDevitt in 9th with Daniel Kraft rounding out the top 10. For the GTLM category, it's going to be Daniel Pazator still on pole position with Arthur Lehoux in the 2nd position. Patrick Heinrich in 3rd with Hugo Brendeo in 4th place. 5th in the GTLM category is Aitor Faradell. Oliver Dean in 6th. Flavio Saturnino in 7th in the category with Fernando Borda in 8th. Dylan Scrivens in 9th. George Blasco Valls in 10th place. Boris Angel Ovando in 11th. Felipe Pinto in 12th place. Andre Montero in 23rd, Phil Bochard in 24th, Sebastian Macara in 25th. Rounding out the 16-car GTLM field is going to be Diogo Pais Solipa. Continuing to move things down now to the GTD category. It's going to be Kane Halliburton on the pole position by 2/10 over Renz de Kock. Daniel Sommer rounds out the top 3 with Rune Jessens in 4th place. Top 5 is going to be finished out by Tristan Iglesias, started on the 3rd row in your GTD class. Is Gilles Walters, Carter Hutcherson, and Pascal Juan Marcos Ratchun down there in the 8th position. 9th place is going to be Kim Salveson, Javi Utrivas in the 10th position, Gustavo Pereira, and Javier Horta in 12th place. Apologies again for any butcher names. International names they don't tend to necessarily be my specialty, but for now it is going to be about 38 cars that are going to be set to go green flag racing in just a very short moment here.
Absolutely, as the cars get rolling on the formation lap, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this first race of the season. But these drivers are going to have to be very wary, but obviously with and also as well, I believe we've got live timing as well, Dylan. No, I'm sorry.
We do indeed. Live timing is available for tonight's presentation of RaceSpot TV Primetime on racespot.tv/timing2. That is racespot.tv/timing2 for live timing flag to flag of today's coverage. Meanwhile, 10 LMP2 prototypes are now rolling. Your final thoughts here, Ryan, before we go green?
This is going to be an interesting start, and these drivers are going to have to be careful into turn 1. That says a Variante into that first chicane, and then the run up through a Curva Piano Sono. I hope I got it right. Up to the second chicane. I think some drivers are going to have to be careful just because of the closing speeds.
Drivers will have to be very careful indeed, and now it is going to be all in the hands of Dejawad Karoni to lead the field off to the green. And now it is all in his hands. The pace car is off, and so are the LMP2s. We are green for another round of the iRacing IMSA Sports Car Championship.
Yep, the GTLM cars are underway as well. They're coming around the final corner, and just something's happened. He's
going to run wide.
This is into the first chicane.
That was Johan Hart that just bailed out of the first corner and ended up going 3 wide for a brief moment as he has to take a slowdown penalty, no doubt. That is going to allow your overall pole sitter Caroni to hang on to the first position. Meanwhile, though, your GTLM into the first chicane, will they have any issues? So far, still green, and one car does have to bail out. That was one of the BMWs that just had to take to the escape roads in the middle of that chicane, but a very close one indeed.
Absolutely. As a look at GTD now, and at the moment, GTD, it looks like Kane Halliburton might have lost the position as he's fallen back down to second position, and Vince de Kock is taking the lead.
So a lot of scraps going on in the early stages here of round 1 at Monza. Of course, 1 hour on the clock, already about a minute gone. Looking back up now to the LMP2 category, and well, taking a look at the front runners right now. That is, of course, Caroni you were just following along with him. Behind him, Linus Tech now, no doubt trying to close in the gap in a hurry. Johan Hart, though, he's got some work to do. He's already, looks like, to be back down to about 7th, excuse me, in the LMP2 category.
And that's a mistake you can't afford to make around Monza, especially in the first chicane. If you run wide over that chicane, you get a massive slowdown, and it just bites you. And unfortunately, Johan found it out, and he's down into 7th position as they come across the line to complete the first lap.
Dominic Farber, meanwhile, in a drag race with Casey Kerwin down the front straightaway. Kerwin might try to be deeper on the brakes, but it's going to be Farber to pull the outside line. Up ahead of him, though, Fraser Williamson runs wide. He's into the sand. That's going to give us free spot now to Dominic Farber, and Casey Kerwin is going to be right on that rear wing. Actually, look to give him a bump draft through Curvo Grande. So Casey Kerwin now side by side with Farber. It's once more a 2x2 drag race to the braking zone for the second chicane. He deep on the brakes. Farber manages to lunge ahead.
And yeah, I think Casey's forgetting this is not a NASCAR. You can't bump draft in it, so a little bit cheeky from him. But at the moment, everyone's managed to survive the first lap, and as we've got a replay coming up right now, Nolan.
This is of the entirety of that first chicane melee, so we're going to take a look at what happened here. Sorry, yes, indeed, this was what just happened now, so that's on board. We're going to take a look at this. Was there a contact? It looked like right there might have been just the smallest of nudges to the back end, and unfortunately, it was not enough for him to really get the position done. He did have to back out of that one as, well, that car is inside, much deeper on the brakes, and he did make good work of his positioning there.
Yeah, managed to get the move done, and I'm just looking back up at the front as well, and it's still Caroni leading, but at the moment, Linus Techno is not letting him get away that easy and managing to keep with him. As further back, we've got this battle going on at the moment.
That is Fraser Williamson running wide at the Parabolica. That's going to cost him big time. Meanwhile, trying to go 3 wide down the front straight for a brief moment. Jamie Moon is right now about to get a shove here from Johan Hart. We right on board with Hart, trying to split his way up the middle into the braking zone now for the first chicane. Johan Hart very deep on the brakes. Will he overshoot the chicane this time, though? Jamie Moon is under fire all of a sudden from that car right behind him.
Yeah, Moon tried to make a move on Harf into turn 1, but Harf managed to stay in front of him. And at the moment, we've still got some fantastic racing going on in Monza with these long straights. I think it looks like we're going to look at the other class as well. As GTLM at the moment, it looks like it's been led by Daniel Pastor.
Not for long, though. It looks like Arthur LeHoux is wanting to move as well. Of course, Arthur LeHoux, one of those drivers that's expected to finish high in his class today. Right now, running second place. He's got a pretty decent draft here down the straightaway as well on Pastor. Now, will LeHoux be able to make the look? Not quite into this corner. He's not close enough. He is still, though, trying to throw his way out of the corner. Look at the BMWs clattering their way over the curbs. Should note, though, that Corvette is not as dominant as we might thought it might be today. Right now, it is a BMW 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised by the Corvette not being further up, especially with it being a new car. When new cars are being released in the past, they're right up there challenging and having a good race. But at the moment, the Corvette's further down in the class, but in 5th place, and at the moment not being able to get up there and challenge up at the front.
So looking further down the order now, this is on the entry to the Ascari chicane, riding on board with Aitor Feridol in the 5th position. He is under fire from Patrick Heinrich just behind him in a big battle. Of course, he is right now in that highest placed Corvette, so this is certainly bad news for Heyerdahl. And there you can see a fierce battle in the BMWs just up ahead. That's Patrick Heinrich trying to find his way up the inside of Oliver Dean. But for now, those two BMWs not being able to do a whole lot just up the road. So should note here as well that your highest placed Corvette right now running in the 3rd position. Let's take a look back and give you some love to your GTD category. Meanwhile, Rhys de Kock, who has since taken the lead away from Kane Halliburton. Halliburton might be looking to fight back here. Not going to be able to get him on the entry to the Parabolica. Maybe down that front straightaway.
That's quite possible, but on the other hand, it's not a bad thing for Kane to be behind Rens at the moment. He could just possibly sit there, sit there, use that slipstream, do some fuel saving, and maybe try and stretch the stint out a little bit. But Kane Halliburton in 2nd place, and it's a name be recognised from doing some of the iRacing special endurance events in the past.
Well, now is really where we're going to get to see how aggressive Halliburton is willing to be. Right now, all the drivers deep on the brakes for the first chicane. And so far, they are looking still clean and green. So it is a Mercedes leading the way, and an Audi right behind in Kane Halliburton. Now the question will be, does the Audi try to pull away or try to pull out from the Mercedes and take the lead back? Because you never know. We do have, of course, that mandatory pit stop that needs to be made around the halfway point, we're thinking, in this race. So you got to keep that in mind as well. What's going to take place here? Meanwhile, the LMP2 lead seems to be heating up. Here is Caroni now under fire from Linus Tech and they appear to be approaching some lap traffic now in one of the GTD Audis.
Yep, I'm a bit surprised that they're catching up to GT traffic already, but it looks like one of the GTLM cars rather had some issues, and as they come by it now into the 2nd chicane, Caroni's still leading, but he's closely followed by Techno.
You are actually correct. That is one of the GTLM cars. In fact, it's Hugo Brandeo that they just overtook right now to put one lap down. So does seem like he did have a couple of issues. So unfortunate there for Brandeo. He's going to have a lot of work ahead of him if he wants to make up some more ground. Meanwhile, it's Linus Tech now still in that slipstream of Dejao Caroni just up the road. Let's take a look back now to the GTLM category at this battle for the 6th position. Jorge Blasco-Valls trying to fend off Fernando Borda just behind him.
Yeah, these guys will be really close, and it's the same as always in the GTLM class. It's really, really close, and especially when some people are using the same car, they might not, or they're probably not using the same setup, but nevertheless, still really close. And Jorge Blasco-Valls is another name I recognise from racing, racing with the Williams eSport team, and one of the quickest drivers on a GT car.
So taking another look back to the GTLM category, I believe this is the battle for 6th place, just behind your highest placed Corvette in the field right now. And now let's take a look further up, though, because this is the battle for 4th place right now. Patrick Heinrich trying to run down Oliver Dean. This is the battle for the final podium position, and he's going to go up the inside of the Ascar chicane. That's a very bold move of Heinrich. That's going to be contact. That puts Oliver Dean into the grass. They managed to hang on to it, but all of a sudden, it looks like that Corvette might be moving up to 4th place.
Yeah, that was a bit of a risky move by Patrick, but he managed to get it done, and he kind of got sideways when he was making the move, and just had a slight bit of contact with Oliver, but he managed to get away with it, and Oliver's lost a bit of time to him, and he's having to keep an eye on his mirrors on that Corvette.
Taking a look back now at the Race Spot TV replay at this incident that happened on the entry to the Ascar chicane. Watch as he makes the look down the inside. This is a very, very bold move. It's usually a good idea to make that sort of move on the last lap, not so much when you're 10 minutes into the race. And honestly, it's impressive that they did not have a bigger incident there. That would have been disastrous for both drivers if one of them ended up getting spun around.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. I'm a bit surprised that Patrick was getting a bit, or is getting a bit aggressive at the early stage of the race. But yeah, I think he realises that he needs to try and get after the hook in front of him as the P2 cars are coming up to GT traffic.
And this is bad now for Caroni, as Tech now is going to be all over the back end of him now in the GTD traffic, jarring their way through just like it's a Sunday drive. And Caroni trying to get a draft off of the lapped cars as he's going. This is going to be terrible for him, though, because look at the gag that's right up in front of him. This is a battle for position that's up the road here, so this is disastrous. I think this is actually the battle for the GTD lead they're coming up on as well. Rhys de Kock is still trying to fend off Kane Halliburton just behind. You got the battle for P3 in the mix of this as well, so this is detrimental for this LMP2 battle for the lead, and this is going to get all sorts of tight here.
Yep, and this is the thing with GT traffic as well. The GT cars do not have to move offline. They are on the line, and it's the responsibility of the faster class cars to get around them safely.
And one of the Mercedes just tried to duck out in front of the LMP2 and nearly put him into the wall as well. So seems like there are a few reckless moves being made as throughout the order. Lap traffic still trying to be used like pigs here as the LMP2 traffic darts their way through. I see Casey Kerwin right now trying to run down Dominic Farber in the battle for third place as well. So I'll tell you what, Ryan, this has been one crazy start to this race, and now we're seeing this is what multi-class racing gives you. It really just does become a hornet's nest when the LMP2s start to catch that GTLM traffic.
And another thing it adds as well to these multi-class races is the unpredictability. It's just you don't know what's going to happen. And with the traffic, it kind of bunches up the field as well. As it looks like Caroni's, he didn't lose too much time, but it's allowed Linus to catch up to him. It's a bit naughty to trying to go off the track. Well, not off the track, but over the white line a little bit. But in the official stuff, I think that's allowed.
And closing fast, Caroni goes defensive and then cuts back onto the racing line just on the braking zone for that first chicane. Tech now not being too aggressive just yet behind them. The battle for third place is beginning to pick up as well. This is now a three-car battle for the third position between Dominic Farber, Casey Kerwin, and Johan Harth. Harth did manage to close in as a result of all of that GTLM traffic in the midst of this one. So we're going to take a look at this here because there was a pass for a position here, it would seem. We're taking a look now at Johan Harth. And was this a very easy slipstream pass up the inside? It was on Casey Kerwin into the braking zone. That is a textbook overtake right there at Monza.
Yep, managed to get the move done, managed to hold it. They get slowed up for the chicane, and they managed to get the move done. And Johan Harth is on a recovery drive now after having a bit of an up and down start to the race and running wide at the chicane. But next person in front of Johan Harth is Donovan Farber. It is the battle for the GTD lead between Ken Halliburton and Rez de Clock is starting to spice up.
Certainly is. It's a four-car battle for the race lead. You got a couple Audis mixed into this one. You got a couple Mercedes in there as well. Rens de Kock is still trying to defend against Kane Halliburton, who had a bit of a look on the entry to one of these last corners in the Lesmos. Of course, that look did not quite lead to where he wanted it to, but look at just how close these cars are to each other. They're running line to stern, nose to tail. Dirty air clearly not a factor just yet in your GTD category, though Halliburton does lose Rens de Kock does lose a little bit of time there on the exit of that corner. And all of a sudden, this is going to be looking very intense now for Rens de Kock, as all of a sudden he might find himself under fire by Rune Jensen's. There was a pass, of course, for the GTD lead in the middle of this lap as well, as Kane Halliburton, your current GTD race leader, in that Audi R8 LMS. Yep,
and right behind Ken Halliburton as well, as he's got I dread to think how many cars he's got behind him, but he's starting to build up a bit of a trend behind him. And I think Ken Halliburton might be just backing the pack up at the moment. Rens de Kock is going for a move into the chicane.
Side by side in the braking zone for the chicane. Rens de Kock gets the move done. Halliburton trying to go over, trying to go under, trying to find a way back through. Cannot get the jump on him, though, on the exit of the chicane. Can he get him, though, in the run through Curva Grande down towards that second chicane? He does have Rune Janssens behind him to worry about as well. So we're going to take a look here. Looks like it is the battle for second place, though, as Janssens tries to get another look now, and Halliburton forced to back out. And all of a sudden, it's Mercedes 1-2.
Yeah, and I was unfortunate for Kane, but I think he's realising there's no point making a fight of it at the moment. Maybe just, like I mentioned before, maybe just thinking of the long game, just doing some fuel saving. But or on the other hand, they might be planning a move to try and retake second place on the home straight.
Certainly might be trying to make that move on the front straightaway, so we'll have to keep an eye on this one, see what is going to take place in this battle for the race lead. It is just a long line of GTD cars, no doubt all of them wanting to go, but well, that's the thing about Monza. You do have to be patient, because if you just pounce at every single braking opportunity, it is just going to slow you down, and you put yourself at that much more of a risk of falling into the clutches. And look at this battle for the LMP2 race lead, and that might get pushed out of the sand, and all of a sudden João Caroni a little bit close for comfort there. Surely we got to get a replay of that one coming up here, because that was probably one of the most intense fights for the race we've seen all race so far.
Yeah, so just about to look at the replay now, and on the home straight. It looks like Linus gets a run, and Caroni goes to the inside to defend the line, and he might have just out of braked himself as he turns in, and yeah, just runs slightly wide, and Linus tries to go round the outside possibly, and this tries to get back in the power and gets a bit of wheel spin on the exit.
And all of a sudden, that has lost Linus Tech now a lot of time up ahead to Joao Caroni, and now it's going to be a very fierce fight for him to try to hang on to that second position. They are catching some more GTLM traffic as well, so we got to maybe wonder, will Caroni catch this traffic at the worst possible time, and could this allow Tech now to close in the gap?
It possibly could, as we coming up to the final corner, and they lap one of the GTLM cars, and Caroni goes to the inside and laps it, and they manage to get by, and they manages to get the move done, and Linus, as Caroni gets a bit sideways on the exit.
He is going to find his way up the inside of one of those BMWs down the pit straight. So this is good now for Caroni. Behind him, now does still have that slipstream, and he is still closing the gap, but he is still going to be catching Caroni and the lap traffic at the worst possible time. And meanwhile, it's a battle for P3 behind as Dominic Farber loses out third place to Johan Harth in a big braking battle into the first chicane. So Johan Harth picks up the third and final podium position here for your LMP2 category. Here comes Farber, though. Will he try to have a look back up the inside into the second chicane, or will he decide to stay behind for now? He is actually going to back off, so Farber playing the conservative game here.
He is, and I think he might have realised that Johan at this stage might be the quicker driver, and he's on a bit of a recovery drive, maybe just staying one of those moods when something goes wrong, and maybe just getting frustrated. And I dare to say it, I dread saying it rather, as he might be in a bit of an angry driving mood.
And meanwhile, they have caught another massive train of GTLM traffic, so this is certainly not good now for those massive battles for position as they're trying to duck their way left and right, front and center around. Oh, wait, one of the GT cars just made contact with one of the LMP2s. That was one of the BMWs. The screams goes back on the track. That's going to be a big pile of no doubt as the others piling in behind, and it's complete calamity. And all of a sudden, Dominic Farber out of this race.
What? I don't know how to describe that. All kicked off. I'll try to keep up with that, but it's a...
Oh, heads up, Caroni has actually just been hit from behind as well by Tracy Kerwin on the entrance of the corner.
So look at the replay now to see what happened, and Donifat Farber just comes round, and there's this chaos everywhere, and Sheeran in front of him, and he has nowhere to go. He has contact with a GT car, contact with another GTLM car, and it just all seems to kick off, and he gets caught up in it.
We're going to keep an eye on this one now, and watch here as Casey Kerwin gets into the back end there of your former race leader, Joao Caroni. It sends him wide. Impressive save there from Caroni around the outside of the Parabolica, but that has allowed Linus Tech now into the lead. Johan Harth to second, and Casey Kerwin up to that final podium position.
And I'm just watching Johan Harth as well, and he's absolutely on it at the moment. He's closing that gap down to Techno in front of him. And that was unfortunate for Donifat Farber, but he just had nowhere to go with everything happening in front of him, and he just unfortunately, he was an innocent victim in that incident.
He certainly was, and that's one of the really hazards of multi-class racing. You have to be patient when you're getting around the GTLM traffic. That's a perfect example of, maybe two drivers that were not being as patient as they needed to be. They make a little bit of contact, and it's just disaster for everybody in the line behind them. So again, it's just one of those hazards of multi-class racing. You have to be prepared for it. Unfortunately, like you said, nowhere to go for Dominic Farber, and it's going to end his race a lot earlier than he was hoping for.
Absolutely. It seems to have, hopefully not jinxing it, it seems to have settled down ever so slightly as Linus just laps a GTLM car, and he's got a bit of clear in front of him at the moment before he has to lap more GTLM traffic heading down to the first chicane. He
is going to indeed have some more traffic to get around him, including one of the Corvettes in the field. Of course, the brand new GTE Chevrolet Corvette. A lot of people were very, very happy to see this car making its entrance to iRacing. A lot of people saying, it was long overdue, so it's a good thing to see the brand new Corvette really shining out here today as we take a look back at the number 25 car right now running fourth place in the GTLM category, driven by Aitor Faradol. For now, though, it is still a BMW 123.
Absolutely, and it looks like Ferradal might be under attack from Oliver Dean, who's maybe just regrouped himself after that little slight bit of contact with Patrick Heinrichs, and they starting to get back into it and putting the Herradal under huge pressure.
We'll have to see here what Oliver Dean will be able to make here around Aitor Ferradal, and down this very, very long straightaway out of the second Lesbo. One of the LMP2s darts his way by around the, really the outside of the track now to make his way, get those couple spots done. Luckily before the break zone, this is good for both of them. This is not good though for Dean, because Ferradal can use that LMP2 for a little bit of draft on the exit of the Ascari chicane. Now the question is, will he be able to really capitalize on that as the Corvette runs wide off the corner? That's going to cost some time to Dean.
Yeah, and he ran ever so slightly wide and caught a bit of the gravel, and it might have just rattled him a little bit. And as they come round to the final corner now, and it looks like if Dean can get a good exit, he could possibly get a run on Ferradal heading down this home straight.
Yeah, the question is, going to be able to capitalize on said run? It's about half a second now as you still have LMP2 traffic darting through the order. And I don't think he's going to be nearly close enough really to make a realistic dive bomb. It was actually enough length that the LMP2s are able to put themselves in between to use them as picks in their own little battle as they dart their way through. But look at the LMP2s actually check up Ferradal a little bit and put him right into the clutches of Oliver Dean.
Indeed, and we're about 25 minutes into this race, and I think we're close to getting to the halfway mark in this race. And just a quick question on strategy: what would you do if you were one of these drivers in the prototype class, or just in general? If you're stuck behind someone, do you go for do you pit early and try and go for an undercut, or do you try and stretch the fuel as long as possible?
Well, this is really one of those really confusing things, because usually, the strategy is if you're caught up behind traffic, come in early and get that undercut in. The question is there such thing as clean air right now here at Monza? As we look back up to this battle for the overall race lead between Linus Technow and Johan Hart, that gap's still closing. The gap is now underneath 1 second, so this could be detrimental for Technow if Johan Hart can catch him. We know Hart is extremely aggressive, and he could definitely throw some really bold maneuvers. We've seen it before, so we'll have to see what Johan Hart will do here in this overall battle for the race lead, as it looks like Hart's going to run wide, potentially get a little bit checked up there by one of the Mercedes, but that gap under half a second.
Yep, and he's getting ever so closer to Techno now as they head down to the first chicane, and I think Hart, if he can get a good exit, he might be able to try and get a run as he closes up on the braking, and then manage to just about lap a GTD car, and closes right up on Techno, and on the exit he's got a great exit.
Fantastic exit indeed. So will Johan Hart now go for that lunge into the second chicane? They are just a little ways behind the overall GTD battle as well, but meanwhile, side by side, Johan Hart up the inside, and it looked like to me that Techno actually let Johan Hart go in the midst of that.
Yeah, he's maybe thinking out strategy. He might, like we were talking about, he might try and pit early and maybe try and jump Hart, but at the moment Hart looks like he's starting to pull away ever so slightly as Techno tries to lap a GT car, and it just about ends up in contact.
I think it actually might have ended up in a little bit of contact as that Mercedes got put into the grass, and you see a bit of an angry headlight flash there. That was definitely, not nice for that Mercedes, getting caught up right in the midst of things. And now it looks like Technow is now under fire for the third position in this battle as well. So it does appear that Casey Kerwin now might have his hands full as he's now trying to dart his way around Technow. He's definitely going to have the run, though. The question is, will he make the move into the Parabolica, or will he make it down onto the pit straight? He is going to make it to the Parabolica. Look at that. Dunked out as soon as he was able to. And that is going to be Casey Kerwin up into second place. Will Technow try to fight back? It would not surprise me if he did.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if Techno's struggling with something, because he's lost two places basically on the same lap, and he gets a run in Kerwin, but it's a bit unusual for Linus. He might have maybe struggling with tyres or setup.
And deep on the brakes, Kerwin not making the look for the second position just yet. Sorry, Linus Technow not making the position. Linus Technow not electing to fight back into that first chicane. So Case Kerwin managing to hold on to second place. Meanwhile, the lead battle for the GTD category is now a bit under threat here as your battle for the overall race lead throws its way through. Rune Jensen's still trying to hold off Renz de Kock just behind him. So the two Mercedes duking it out, and one of them gets put into the sand. That was Renz de Kock that ended up going through. And look at this massive, really just getting freight train here right now as Rune Jansen's. It looked like he almost tried to fend off that LMP2 car and keep him behind him until after the Lesmos. Bit of a bold move there indeed, but that has allowed Kane Halliburton and the Audi now close in. So it's a 3-car battle for the race lead in GTD.
Yeah, this battle for the lead in GTD has just not stopped. It's been going on since the start of the race, and that was a bit naughty by one of the GTD cars trying to, basically, you could say, trying to block one of the prototypes from lapping him. It happens in real life, but it's a bit. I have always found it to be a bit of a naughty thing to do.
Indeed, so a bit of a cheeky tactic they've been trying to hold up the second place car in the class. We ride on board now with Kane Halliburton in his Audi R8 LMS ahead of him. The two Mercedes AMG GT3s definitely close to each other than Halliburton is. Halliburton really is just kind of waiting in the wings right now. Now the next question is going to be, what can Renz de Kock make on Rune Jansen's now into that first chicane? Linus Tech now, meanwhile, in his Dallara P217 on pit road, so the pit window is very much open.
Absolutely, and I think Linus has probably basically just thought, I'll just try and get in the pits, get some clear air on the exit, and maybe try and put some hot laps down as they in the first chicane. It's still got mayhem happening between one of the prototype cars. It has a slight bit of contact with one of the GTD cars. That looks like the second place car in GTD.
That was Fraser Williamson, the prototype driver that just had some contact. And now look at this, the battle's on and the prototype's up the road as Majek Milnek trying to throw it up the inside of Williamson on the chicane. Will that be contact? That's going to get real close, but Milnek manages to fend. He's going to have to fall back in line. Williamson manages to fend him off. That got really tight there.
Oh, that... Yeah, I was holding my breath when I was watching that. I was absolutely close, and I was amazed it never ended up in contact, or even one of the drivers having a spin or being spun out. But amazingly, both of them managed to make it through the chicane without any issues, and yeah, amazingly, it's still going.
Just shows how powerful the draft of these cars can be at a track like Monza. So Williamson, who's going to get the run out of the Ascari chicane? Will it be Williamson, or will it be his opponent in the number 15? It looks like it is Milnek looking up the road now. These are two more of the LMP2 cars that are duking it out. This is Johan Harth that's right now due battle with Casey Kerwin. This is for the race lead on the course as of right now.
I'm just looking at the lap times as well. It looks like Johan Harth is being a slightly quicker driver, and managed to keep up the curve, and maybe he's not trying to make a move straight away, maybe thinking of maybe trying to stay behind, maybe use that slipstream to save some fuel and maybe stretch the run out by 1 lap or maybe 2 laps at a push. But again, I have to say, Nolan, for the first race of the season, it's been absolutely fantastic so far.
And meanwhile, it is Daniel Pastor right now that's under fire for the GTLM race lead. 3 wide with GTD traffic. Pastor trying to hang on to the race lead of the braking zone for turn number 1. Who's going to win now? Leho trying to fight the outside. Leho takes the GTLM race lead here at the halfway point of the race.
That was a fantastic move. Fantastic, but ballsy at the same time, and he managed to get the move done. And off into the GTLM lead, and they're coming up to lap GTT traffic as well, and maybe Arthur can use this to his advantage.
Taking a look at the replay now of that overtake on the front straightaway. There you see Pastor making the lookout on Arthur Leho. So Leho was trying to defend for the race lead, goes 3 wide with the Audi. A very bold move there. And again, this is one of those that just got way too close for comfort, as there was really nothing there that Pastor could do. Leho was in complete control of his line through turn 1, and that allowed Leho to hold on to that position.
Absolutely. And Arthur Leho, we've watched him a few times in the other broadcasts on Race Spot, and he's a really quick driver in GT stuff, and maybe can try and pull away and build up a bit of a gap. But for the overall lead, we've still got this battle going on between Kerwin and contact.
Oh! That was Johan Harth making contact with a lap car BMW. That was Flavio Sartonino that was in the BMW M8GTE that made the contact, and Santonino, no doubt, not terribly pleased about that contact, voicing his displeasure over the radio on board now. This is with Johan Harth. Look up front as Kerwin makes his way around the inside and right in the braking zone. Johan Harth tried to follow, expecting the BMW to make room. He just pushed a bit too wide, though. Got into him, though, so that is going to cost Johan Harth a lot of time, and it's going to bend up the left front on that Dallara P217, which is going to hamper the aerodynamics, and no doubt in a big way.
Yeah, and with these sort of cars as well, once you get a slight bit of a slight dent or a slight nudge or damage on the front, be it on the left, on the aerodynamic parts, that affects the handling, and also in a way it can affect the straight line speed. So I think Johan should have been more patient and waited until the exit, but I can understand we're in these sort of races with it being 1 hour or only 1 hour, you want to try and make a move straight away and not lose too much time.
This is the battle for the GTLM lead right now on course, but the battle for the GTD race lead, they're just splitting up that battle for second place. That's a bit of a bump draft on the exit of the corner. Lorenz de Kock in the Mercedes MG GT3. That might not be pleasant for the number 20 machine, but that is going to split up all the battles. That was GTD three-way battle for the lead and the GTLM battle for the race lead, and all the two battles actually just got completely split up now. It really is running. It's running GTD, LM, DLM, and so on and so forth right now. Pastor still trying to find a way around through the Ascar chicane, as is Arthur Laho on the exit. They finally get their way through, but that, again, it has cost Daniel Pastor a lot of time. That is, again, one of the casualties of multi-class racing, is the fact that you really just cannot predict where the lap traffic is going to go or where you're going to catch it. And sometimes you just catch it at a bad spot, and it really does lose you a ton of time. Meanwhile, though, that is Rune Jessens going down into the pit lane from the GTD race lead.
Yep, I think Rune decided to dive into the pits and maybe just get out of the traffic and not lose too much time yep. And also Ken Halliburton decided to stay out.
Lorenz de Kock came down to the pit lane with them, so first and second place both down to the pit lane. The Mercedes drivers on similar wavelengths, it would seem. Kane Halliburton still on the course, so we'll have to see how this will play out for Halliburton. He's in clear air right now. Does have a hornet's nest of GTLM traffic just behind him, with some LMP2 traffic as well darting their way through the mix, so this could get antsy here for Halliburton. That might have been the wrong call to stay out. Meanwhile, Lorenz de Kock and Rune Jessens just now leaving pit road, so we'll have to see where Halliburton is going to come out, because he still has yet to make his stop.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see where he comes out as well. It looks like one of the prototypes is coming up to lap him as well. It looks like a Techno that's coming up to lap him, and I think Halliburton, I'm guessing, will be in the pits at the end of this lap.
So all eyes now on Kane Halliburton. Meanwhile, that battle for the GTLM race lead, well, it's closed right on in. Arthur Laho having to defend once again against Daniel Pastor. The question is he going to make the look here into the Parabolica? He is going to go side by side. Third place, Patrick Heinrich, is still in the wings and still waiting for maybe these two drivers to clean each other out so he can sweep through, take the GTLM race lead himself, or at least slow each other up. So he has a chance at fighting for this one as well. And Pastor going to stay right on the rear wing now of Arthur Laho. Makes the look back out again down the pit straightaway. There is an LMP2 waiting in the wings who is going to be trying to get around these guys as well as he goes to lap him. Who's going to be deeper on the brakes? It is going to be Laho deeper on the brakes. Pastor still trying to throw his way up the inside, and there's just nothing he can do on the entry to the chicane number one.
Yep, yeah, these guys have been scrapping for ages, and they've got another prototype coming up to lap them, and I think Laho, he's actually putting up a good fight. He's doing it fairly, and it looks like in GTD, Ken Halliburton stayed out yet again.
So Ken Halliburton taking a bit of an interesting strategy. Might be trying to just run the car till it's dry. Meanwhile, Casey Kerwin, I believe, has just made a trip to the pit road. It is Casey Kerwin that is down in the pits right now, along with the fourth place runner in GTD as well. So this will leave Johan Harth all on his lonesome out in front. So now the question is going to be, where will Johan Harth come out when he comes down for his stop? Because we do still have a few drivers that have yet to make a pit stop. Johan Harth among them. And don't forget, you got Kane Halliburton as well. So, my goodness me. The fuel strategy really is just playing into a big factor here. And this kind of goes to a bit of a different strategy here. I mean, a lot of drivers will just like to, take the one strategy where, you run the car until the halfway point, just top it up there and get to the end. A couple drivers, though, might like to run it dry because that means you have to take less fuel in the car for the last pit stop. And it also means your car is overall going to be lighter, giving you more top speed, which you need a lot of at a track like this.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's kind of that's why I love these races, because there's different strategies being used. And I'm just looking at Kane Halliburton in GTD, and again, Halliburton stays out to do another lap, so he's amazingly managed to save loads of fuel.
And now Oliver Dean going to be caught out here by Fraser Williamson, one of the LMP2 cars that just came out of the pits. That might hold him up a little bit here to Aitor Faradal. So Faradal, no doubt, is going to be looking to pounce for that 4th position. This is a 3-way battle for 4th place in the GTLM category. You got George Blasco-Valls waiting in the wings, as well as Oliver Dean hard on the brakes for the 2nd chicane. Not overbraking himself this time. Johan Harth now comes down to pit road. Now the question is going to be, where does he come out in relation to Casey Kerwin? Kerwin is right now in the braking zone for the Ascar chicane as Johan Harth enters this pit box.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on Harth to see where he comes out, because this is going to, I think this will be really, really close. And yeah, this is so tense that you don't know what's going to happen. But I'm keeping an eye on Halliburton and GTD to see where when he pits. So yeah, I think keep an eye on that now to see what happens.
Harth's out of the pits. Harth just exited his pit box, and as Kerwin enters the front straightaway, Johan Harth clears the pit speed lane limit. So Johan Harth has actually gapped Case Kerwin by a significant margin, because that's Kerwin there at the back of the shot as Johan Harth enters turn number 1. So Johan Harth has played the strategy completely in his favor.
It was a fantastic stop for Johan Harth. It was a really good in-lap and a good out-lap as well. Basically good exit and good pit stop in general. He managed to jump Kerwin by a few seconds.
So that is significant there for Johan Harth, as he is going to have the race lead. Gets a bit checked up there by one of the Mercedes, but still well clear of the draft. Kane Halliburton still staying out. So Kane Halliburton, he's got to be, kind of running empty at this point. The question really is for Halliburton, when do you come in? Because we're now at less than 25 minutes to go. He's coming to the final third of the race. He cannot stay out here forever.
Yeah, and I think if I was Halliburton anyway, I would have just dived into the pit straight away when my opponents pitted before me, because you want, in these sort of races, you want to try and keep the track position.
Absolutely, you want to keep the track position, but I mean, he hasn't had a whole lot to deal with. I mean, he hasn't been really battling with anybody on the track. He has been having lap traffic catch him at the best opportunities and not at the worst. So, I mean, this might be a good stretch for Halliburton, but there's that point now where you got to think that he's got to be starting to conserve a bit more on the fuel side of things, because you cannot run the whole race through on one tank, and iRacing has made sure that you can't run the whole race through on one tank. So, I mean, if that's what Halliburton's trying to do, which I highly doubt he is, it would be one heck of a run for him. But I mean, right now it is a matter of when does Halliburton come down, as behind him Andre Montero flashes the lights.
And I think I've just got a feeling that Halliburton will be in the pit at the end of this lap, but I just got a feeling about it with traffic coming up behind him, and I think he won't want to lose too much time.
Meanwhile, Montero goes up the inside. Diego Poisolipa going to be a bit held up here now behind the Audi. The question is going to be now, does Halliburton come down now? Does he stay out another lap? Hughes had a feeling he would come on down this time by. He's already cutting to the inside of the Parabolico, and he is going to be taken to the pit lane. So finally, Kane Halliburton, with 21 minutes on the clock, comes into pit lane. That is the graphic comparing him to Rune Jansen's, we believe is right now the net race leader, as Halliburton is into the box. Will this be a Johan Harth and Casey Kerwin situation, though?
I'll be interested to see if it is or not, but I'm just watching Halliburton, and I'm wondering if he might try and maybe take a little less fuel to try and get out in front of Jansen's, but Jansen's is coming round the final corner, and I think Halliburton's going to just get out in front of him.
Kane Halliburton is rolling, but he's still trapped by a pit road speed limiter. He's just approaching that green cone now in the Audi. There is Jansen's. This might be close here on the exit of turn number 1. Halliburton is free of pit lane, but here comes Jansen's. He is not going to be close enough to catch him, though. Oh, he actually might be here, as this is going to lose out Halliburton a little bit of time here as well. They're just in the corner, and there is Jansen's just behind him.
And it's just as I thought. Halliburton just managed to get out in front of Janssens, and that was a great stop, a great in lap by Halliburton. He managed to get a good pit stop and managed to get out in front of him just, and yeah, it looks like we've got a race in our hands for the GTD1.
Kane Halliburton now has another job on his hands, though, to defend off Rune Jansen. This time he does not have a pit window to help him. We should be going to the end of the race now, unless, you know, a couple drivers under fuel, which you hope not to see, but it certainly would not be the first time, myself included, that, you know, we've seen drivers under fueling those cars. So this could be very, very intense now as we continue to just hold our breath and wait and see. Arthur LaHoe, meanwhile, is also in pit road.
Yep, GTLM leader in the pits, and Arthur, I think he's just leaving his pit box now, and he should come out round about the P3, P4, or P4, P5, depending on what the traffic's like.
He is now out of the pit road, so we'll have to see where this is going for Arthur LaHoe. He's right now sitting 5th place on the racetrack, the Corvette. Oh, it's going to be 6th place now. As heads up, all of a sudden the battle for the position as he got caught up by Daniel Pastor. Give a bit of a shot there as well as they both exited the first chicane. Now side by side into Curvo Grande.
Yeah, and this is effectively the battle for the lead as they come up to the second chicane, and they're side by side. Who's going to back out of it first? None of them are prepared to back out of it, and Pastor gets a position.
Daniel Pastor does get the position. Arthur LaHoe, no doubt, is going to be working hard to thunder on behind and try to take that race lead back. So we'll have to see what's going to take place here. Remember, this is for the net race lead in the GTLM category. They're sitting about 5th and 6th as of right now on the track. We believe they will cycle out to be 1st and 2nd by the time the other GTLM cars come on down for their stops.
Absolutely, and just watching now throughout the field, it looks like it's just starting just to settle down now as we come basically into the closing stages of this race, or close enough to them. But I have to say, Nolan, this has been a brilliant race in every class, and especially this battle for the GTM lead and the GTD lead.
Patrick Heinrich and Oliver Dean are both down to the pit road, as is Jorge Blasco Valls. Diogo Paisolipa is also down, so they're going to re-inherit the race lead here. Meanwhile, here comes Heinrich out of the pits now, so all of a sudden, 3-car battle for the GTLM race lead as they are rapidly running them down in the braking zone for turn number 1. But Patrick Heinrich comes out with the net race lead for GTLM.
Yeah, where did that pit stop come from? Because I'm a bit gobsmacked by that. But credit to Patrick, he had a great stop, and he managed to come out in the GTLM lead, and it was a 2-car battle for the GTLM lead and the GTLM win, and now it's a 3-car battle, so bring it on.
It's about 3 cars right now in GTLM, separated by about a second from each other. So from 1st to 3rd is about just 1 second apart, which shows just how close this battle has been all race. Because, I mean, this is a battle, same with GTD, that really just has not gone away throughout the whole of this race.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see how this battle goes, because we've got Arthur LaHoe, who's a really quick driver, like I say, in GT stuff, and then you've got Patrick Heinrich, who is also quick in GT stuff, and Daniel. I've not really watched him before, to be honest, but at the moment he's been really quick, and he's been there and thereabouts.
So now the question is going to be, what is going to happen here in this battle for the race lead? Patrick Heinrich I don't think he'll be able to hold on until the end of the race, because the draft is just too powerful, and no doubt Pastor might get a bit desperate here as the time runs out as well. We are now in the final quarter of this race, and Pastor is closing quickly now on Patrick Heinrich for the GTLM race lead here at the Autodromo Nacional Monza in round number 1 of the iRacing IMSA Sports Car Championship. Not making it look this time into turn 1. Might have a go at him, though, into turn number 4, which is, of course, that second chicane.
Absolutely, and there's nothing really going on at the front of GTD at the moment. But Kane Halliburton is just he's not really under pressure. He's managed to pull away ever so slightly and maintain that gap. So Kane Halliburton had a good stop, and at the moment he's leading GTD. But the closest battle at the moment, by the looks of it, is just a free car battle for the lead in GTLM.
This is, of course, one of the most important battles on the track as well, as we continue to wait to see what is going to take place here in the in this battle between Daniel Pazdur and Patrick Heinrich. Arthur Lehoux right now, unlike Heinrich in the last battle, it is now Lehoux that is waiting in the wings to maybe hope that, you know, the two drivers ahead of him can maybe find themselves a spot of trouble. Meanwhile, though, this is the battle now for second place in the GTD category. Rune Jassens still trying to fend off Renz de Kock just behind him.
And yeah, Renz de Kock was in that battle for the lead in the first half of the race, but unfortunately he lost time to Halliburton, and just being in a battle, especially around Monza, it can cost you time, and it can hamper you as well. So it looks like as it stands at the moment, we've got this battle for second and third place, and the second and third step on the podium.
Yes, indeed. So now the question is, can Renz de Kock close into the Mercedes of Rune Jassens? Of course, two Mercedes drivers that got one of the GTLM cars is going to duck out just behind him to try to finally get around. He's been very patient, that car, in waiting for, you know, this battle to kind of settle out. So we'll have to see. Of course, Hugo Brandeo right now that darts his way up into the Ascari chicane. Got an LMP2 car that is looking to split things up in the midst of things as well. So this is no doubt not terribly pleasant at the moment for Renz de Kock, who is caught out on the short end of the stick.
He is, and unfortunately, it's just if it went his way, it could have been in there challenging for the win after the pit stops. But it's just the nature of Monza, or just the nature of these multi-class races in general. If you get stuck behind someone or caught up in a battle, sometimes it can bite you, and you just end up losing too much time and maybe losing a couple of positions.
Watch this battle rage on. Do not forget that battle for the GTLM race lead is yet to be decided as well. Arthur Lehoux really has kind of faded back into a bit of a backseat position now to watch this race. As Patrick Heinrich and Daniel Pazdur still just under half a second apart. They're still trying to reel in the gap. Surely he's got to get a bit more desperate by now. We are now well into this final quarter of a race, coming up to what is going to be 12 minutes remaining, and well, if my math is correct here, we should have roughly 8 laps to go in this race.
And I think if you're Daniel Pazdur in second place, I think if you get close to Heinrichs in front of you, I think you've just got, if you get a run on him, you've just got to go for it. You can't afford to mess around or wait around too much, because you never have a chance of a win, and you basically most of the time you only get one shot at a win, or one chance to go for it.
Sometimes when that door opens, you do just have to go for it without even really thinking. You just got to try to feel your way past. As look at how much Pazdur can close up down the pit straight, but he's just losing time on the exit of these corners, and that means that when he gets the run back down the straights, it is not enough to close back up as they once again dive through Curvo Grande at that little long sweeping banked corner. And now towards that second chicane, you're gonna see he closes in on the entry, but he just loses so much time on the exit.
Yeah, it could be just the nature of the setup as well. Maybe it is set up for with Monza being a straight most of the time. He's set up with low downforce possibly, and it's maybe costing him in the corners, especially on corner exit.
It really is a bit of a tricky thing with setups at Monza, because you got to remember that you got to want to have this car set up for those very long straights, but you can't discount the importance of those corners, because you have the Lesbos, you have the Parabolica, you have the Ascari chicane, and all of those can be massive, massive factors in various battles, whether to, see if the car can catch up in the middle of the corners as well. So it's a very, very fine balance when it comes to setting up your car. Meanwhile, Casey Kerwin's second place in the LMP2 league, going to dart his way through as this battle will continue to rage on, and that actually has put the GTLM race leader Patrick Heinrich at a bit of a disadvantage, as Kerwin was still on his inside. Meanwhile, second place has also closed in the GTD category. Rune Jassens might have a fight on his hands with Renz de Kock.
Yep, and I think if Renz de Kock gets close enough and he gets a run on Rune, I think you'll just go for it. Basically, not send it like Daniel Ricciardo sort of deal, but just they try and make a move as quickly as possible because we're coming into the final, just under 10 minutes remaining in this race. So, Renz, if I was him, I would be trying to get by as quickly as possible.
So, Ruben Jaspens, what does he have? Does he have what it takes to hold up Renz de Kock to take the second position here for the first round of the fourth season here of the IMSA Sports Car Championship for iRacing? Or will Ruben Jaspens be able to hang on for the win? Kane Halliburton has pulled a significant gap. You just saw him leave the shot at the very bottom of the screen in that Audi. He has not really been a factor in this battle for second place at all. He has completely pulled well clear of the draft of these two drivers, as Ruben Jaspens, once again, he might have to go defensive here down the pit straight. He is going to go defensive down the pit straight, slowly inching his way back to the middle groove of the racetrack here. Well, Renz de Kock tries something, though, on the entry to turn number 1 in the chicane. He's really close, but he's still not going for it. He is still electing to be nice and patient here.
What is it? Janssen gets a bit sketchy on the entry and gets sideways in the middle of the corner, and that hampers his exit. And this is Renz de Kock's best chance of making a move and taking that second place.
It certainly is. If there was ever a move to make, it would certainly be now. But he's still staying behind him. You gotta think that maybe at this point, Renz de Kock is trying to go for a fuel saving strategy. Maybe he underfueled the car just a little bit to make sure that he could get out of the pits faster. But now he's having to conserve behind Ruben Jaspens to make sure he can make it to the end of the race. It is a bit of an interesting one here with the move that de Kock is taking, because he totally could have made that look into the corner.
That's a bit interesting. I thought Renz would have wanted to get by as quickly as possible, but that's a good point you make about fuel. Maybe he might have slightly underfueled, and he's maybe getting worried that he might not have enough fuel to make it to the end, so maybe he's staying on that slipstream to try and save the fuel. But surely he wouldn't have done that mistake, because he surely would have had the fuel calculated before his pit stop.
It's a bit of an interesting scenario, isn't it, this one? As there you see Halliburton just at the bottom of the screen, the GTD race leader, and now Ruben Jaspens has actually pulled away by some margin from that third place driver just behind of Renz de Kock. As we look out now to Kane Halliburton, right now your GTD race leader. There you see the battle for second just behind them, and Halliburton really does not have a whole lot to worry about right now. All he's got to do is make sure that he can get that car home in one piece, or it's at this point. Let me put it this way: if Halliburton somehow lost the race with that kind of a lead, and with these two drivers with their current pace, it would certainly be a shocker.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Halliburton he's pretty much put on a great drive, but back up at the front in the GTLM class, you've still got this battle between Heinrichs and Pastor going on, and Arthur Lehoque has fallen back, so it looks like the battle for the win is between these two.
Yes, indeed. So the battle very much on for GTLM as Patrick Heinrich continues to try to hold up Daniel Pastor, and will Pastor make the look this time by into turn number 1? Just under 7 minutes to go, about 6.5 now. Still not close enough to really make the look for the position. The two BMWs still doing a good job at keeping things clean and steady between the two of them, and their falling lines are so similar to each other, and their lap times are so similar as well. Both are in the 1:44.3s. It was a 1:44.337 for Pastor last time by, a 3:10 for Heinrich. So that just shows you how evenly matched these two drivers are.
Absolutely, and just thinking as well, both of these guys could be on a low downforce, so yeah, it looks like Pastor can't make a move because of that. Or maybe just hanging back and waiting until maybe the final couple of laps to try and make a move.
That's what he's going to be trying to do for sure. So we've got to just wait and see here now on what Pastor will be able to make in this battle for the GTLM race lead. They are approaching one of the Mercedes just up the road. This will no doubt hamper that battle. This is Gustavo Pereira that they're catching. He's not going to be close enough to make the lap. This could be detrimental here for Patrick Heinrich. If Daniel Pastor can capitalize on this one, maybe get a good run in them off the corner, it is going to be a very good run for Pastor off the corner.
Yep, and he had to lift out as well, and he couldn't get the move done. They had to lift out because of the GTD traffic in front of him, and he couldn't make a move into the final corner, unfortunately.
could not make the move into the final corner at all. So we're going to keep things with this GTLM battle for now. 5 minutes exactly left on the clock as they cross the start-finish line. When does Pastor make the move? He cannot afford to wait forever.
It's a tough one. I mean, they've got a prototype coming up to lap in now, so maybe when it goes by Pastor, you could try and make a move then and use that to try and make a move then and use that to the advantage. As a prototype here goes around and Pastor just about pulls out and just about has an instant, but manages to get away with it.
And now you saw Pastor following the LMP2, trying to get whatever little draft he could get, and now deep on the brakes for that second chicane. Both drivers ducking around that GTD car as quickly as possible to make sure that they don't keep that car trapped between them for very long. It looks like Pastor took a little bit of a tighter line that time compared to Heinrich, so it seems like Pastor is trying to get the momentum he needs in the corners so he can capitalize down the straights.
Absolutely, as this battle's still going on, and they've got another prototype coming up to lap then now, and it might split them ever so slightly, but it doesn't seem to have hampered anything as it gets by, and they're still really close together, and this battle's been absolutely been fantastic to watch.
It certainly has. It's been raining on for such a long time, but this one that was an LMP2 car that just had a bit of an off-track excursion there in the grass. A little bit of an interesting one there. It gave that GT car a little bit too much room, admittedly, down the straightaway, but still managed to keep that one clean. Meanwhile, what can Pastor do? I mean, at this point in time, you got to be feeling there for Pastor. He does not have long left. He's got 3 laps, if that, left to go in this race. And welcome back to RaceBot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. We do sincerely apologize for the cut in feed. Just a few moments ago, there were some significant technical difficulties that suddenly arose on us. So once again, we do apologize significantly for any of the for the race being cut short. To go over, we may as well go over the final race results, though. Ryan, of course, Johan Harth did manage to pick up the win in the LMP2 category, with Casey Kerwin picking up a spot on Mike Shinji Milnek. And then, of course, you had Patrick Heinrich finishing it off in the GTLM lead. Daniel Pazdur was not able to get through, with Kane Halliburton in a very commanding GTD victory today. So, your thoughts on how this race went today?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good race, a good way to kick off the season, and we had some fantastic racing in the prototype class, the GTLM class, and the GTD class. And I think that's a good sign of what's to come for the rest of the season.
Certainly a good thing to kind of go over what's to come over in the season. Again, of course, I'm looking forward to see how this LMP2 field is going to play out. It's going to be a very big factor to see how that's going to kind of come into things. So this is going to be of course, going to be very, very interesting to see how the season is going to play out. While we're at it, may as well kind of go over the season schedule for this next part while we're still getting some things figured out here to kind of just show you what's going on. This was one of 2 1-hour races today. The others are going to be, of course, 45 minutes in length. Next week is going to be the Suzuka International Racing course, followed by Road Atlanta, then Circuit of the Americas, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and the Roval making an appearance, it would seem. Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace making an appearance. That's going to be, of course, Interlagos for the drivers that do not quite know the very long names. You got, of course, the very famous WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, Circuit Jean Villeneuve, very daunting race at the Circuit des 24 Hours du Mans, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and their road course making an appearance, Silverstone, before we wrap things off at Imola on December the 1st.
Yep, and that schedule looks or sounds pretty amazing, and some tracks on the list that we might not have seen before, and it's some good tracks to head to, and I think for this series it should suit it.
We're kind of going over the race results now for, outside of podium positions. For the LMP2 category, it was Drew McDevitt to finish these off in 4th for LMP2, followed by Fraser Williamson in the 5th position, Jamie Moon in 6th, Linus Technow in 7th place, Daniel Kraft in 8th, and Dejawad Koroni finishing things off in 9th place, with Dominic Farber rounding out the 10th place. So that is your 10-car LMP2 field all taken care of. Kind of going to move things on now to the GTLM category, where it was Patrick Heinrich, Daniel Pastor, of course, in 1st and 2nd place. Arthur Leho finishes it off in the podium. Jorge Blasco Valls, Aitor Faradol, the only Corvette in the field, taking 5th place with Oliver Dean in 6th. Fernando Borda in 6th place for the class. Andre Montero in 8th. Diogo Paisolipa in 8th place. Sebastian Macara in 9th. Boris Angel Ovando in 10th. Flavio Saturnino in 11th place. And then, of course, drivers that did not finish the race from your GTLM category: Hugo Brandeo, Felipe Pinto, Dylan Scrivens, and Phil Bochard. And now let's kind of go over things as well, Ryan, with your GTD category.
Yep, absolutely. And the GTD category was another race that was great to watch. And Ken Halberton took the win with Rune Janssens and Randy Koch rounding out the top 3.
And after this, of course, you have Carter Hutcherson in the 4th position, Tristan Iglesias in 5th, Kim Salvinson in 6th, Daniel Sommer in 7th, Javi Utreras in 8th place, Joe Walters in 9th, Gustavo Pereira in 10th place, Javier Horta in 12th, Pascal Juan Marcos Radshon rounding out what was a 12-car GTD field for the day. So kind of as to be expected, GTLM, obviously the most populated field of the grid. This is, of course, nothing new for the iRacing IMSA Sports Car Championship. Of course, moving into Suzuka, Ryan, it is going to be a lot more different than this race was today, because you did have to, you do have to take into factor that you got the long straightaways of Monza, which you do not have now at Suzuka. So it's going to be quite interesting here to figure out what we're going to be doing now in the next few races here.
Indeed, and I think the next round of the season is another track I really love, and for this series I think it should be another good one to watch as well, and it should be with this multi-class stuff as well. The next track is Suzuka, and it's a full Grand Prix layout, so it's again the race should be great to watch around there, and I think if it's anything like Monza this evening, it should be another good race.
Of course, very, very technical, a lot more of a technical racetrack than Monza is, for sure. A lot more corners involved, especially in that first sector with the very, very famous S's. That's going to be quite the intriguing race to see how that is going to play out. And then, of course, Road Atlanta is the third race after that, and the final race in the month of September on the 29th. The Road Atlanta is, shall we say it's a track that has a reputation for being a little bit extreme when it comes to the difficulty side of things, especially in the first sector. That is where we're going to be seeing, no doubt, a lot of calamity taking hold, especially when the prototypes start to take place, when the LMP2 drivers start to, take the laps around the GTLM traffic. As if we thought today was calamity, well, what's it going to be like when we get to a track like that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be nuts, and yeah, I think it was crazy around here, and I think with that middle sector and the last sector, and especially 130R, I think yeah, when it comes to lapping traffic through those sections, it's going to be absolutely crazy.
So we kind of look over some of these other things, and of course, you had that battle kind of in the closing stages between Casey Kerwin when he actually did manage to make a move. On, I believe it was actually Linus Technow. This was for the second position in the LMP2 category. They did make contact throughout the first corner as well. So it was a bit of an intense one at that when you had that big battle, shaping up at the end of things. This is, of course, shortly after our stream's cut. And at the moment, we are actually seeing if we can maybe get a replay of that sorted to see if just maybe we can, get that back up on screen for you guys and maybe close it off on a high note today. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure.
Yep, and yeah, I think that's at the moment, I think that's about it for tonight. If that's it, Dawn.
Yep, it does appear that we are not going to quite be able to get that replay up on screen. So with this, it is going to be time to end off another presentation of Friday Night Prime Time. Next time the iRacing IMSA Sports Car Championship returns, we will once again be at Suzuka International Racing Course on September the 25th. I've been Nolan Rampel, bringing you coverage of tonight's action from start to, almost to finish, joined by Ryan Walker with Connor Maddock behind the cameras for today. Thank you for joining us tonight on RaceSpot TV on the iRacing Esports Network. Apologies once again for the technical difficulties at the conclusion of tonight's broadcast. Have a good rest of your weekend.